Shalom, everyone. Tonight in Israel and around the world in Jewish communities, Israel Memorial Day will be observed. And it comes always the day before Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel Independence Day. They are placed back to back. For those families who have lost family members, loved ones, people have lost friends, and go to the cemetery on Monday or observe in many different ways those who have fallen in defense of Israel in the wars and through terrorist acts. It is not an easy transition to go from Memorial Day to Independence Day. And yet, the logic, when they first established this, the idea was a very, very strong idea that when we celebrate Independence Day, the establishment of the State of Israel, the ingathering of the exiles after 2,000 years, that we should be ever aware and acknowledge the very high price that so many paid in order that we could be in Israel, that we could have our own state and be free from 2,000 years of exile. And so this logic is a very, very powerful statement that we do go right from Memorial Day into Independence Day with that consciousness, that acknowledgement of that the only way that we could have done it and that we could still exist here in Israel today is through the sacrifice of so many. And so this idea of Memorial Day and Independence Day being back to back, so this mirrors another dynamic in world history and Jewish history, that of exile and redemption. That all of Jewish history has been a constant cycle of coming to Israel, having to leave Israel, coming back to Israel, being forced back into exile, and also in small communities around the world. Sometimes Jews lived in a certain place for 100 years, 500 years, 1,000 years. And then there would be an expulsion or an inquisition or a pogrom. And Jews had to start all over again. And so this dynamic, this cycle of exile and redemption has repeated itself over and over again. Even in world history, we can say that the first exile is when Adam and Eve had to leave the Garden of Eden. And then when Cain killed Abel, his punishment was to be a wanderer, to be in exile. Noah was in exile in a boat, an ark, for over a year. And then after they built the Tower of Babel, the people of the world were scattered all over. So this idea of exile and redemption is the very backbone of the cycle of world history, but most certainly Jewish history. Over and over again, the Jewish people have gone through traumatic times and then times of redemption and salvation. And so here today, this Memorial Day is not like any other really, because we're in the midst of a war now. And soldiers are literally dying every day. Terrorism is still happening, and civilians are being killed on a weekly basis. And so the meaning of Memorial Day is so fresh. It is so almost in our face that we can't really avoid it. It's not just those people who directly lost people. Everyone is feeling the loss on a daily level. So we should be very, very aware of that our ability to be in Israel now, our existence here, is really and has been dependent on those who are willing at the drop of a pin to drop everything and to volunteer to protect the state. We saw this after October 7th, that a whole society turned itself over in order to enter into a wartime situation, as we are still now. And so for Jews around the world, this Memorial Day touches very close to home, very, very, very deep. But yet, the next day will be Israel Independence Day. And with all of the pain and the suffering and the challenge of today, we still are able to defend ourselves, which we couldn't do 75 years ago. In the horrors of the Holocaust, we didn't have that option, even though Jews did fight back, and there were revolts in Warsaw Ghetto, and in eventually all of the death camps there were revolts. But nonetheless, we didn't have an organized army to defend ourselves. And despite everything, every year when they do this survey of the most happy societies, where are people happiest, Israel always ends up in the top 10. This year also. And so, despite it all, we hold on to our faith, we hold on to our trust, and we hold on to our tradition. And in the end, we will be victorious. We will make it through. And we should always remember that it was on the merit of those who were willing to give their lives. Many of them gave their limbs and their health. But we owe an incredible debt of gratitude. And hopefully this Memorial Day, Yom HaZikaron, we will plant it firmly in our consciousness, the debt of appreciation for all those who allow us the great merit and the gift to be in Israel today.